All right, hello. I wanted to talk about, what are the major stories this week, and then hopefully generate a discussion from that. Um, yeah, so with everything going on, the news happens super fast, and a lot of times by the time it's reported, it's already wrong or it's old. So I think the best thing for everyone to do is just gobble up as much information as they can, and form your own opinions. So, all right, let's just dive into it. So the jobs report came out this week. So the U.S. economy added 115,000 jobs, and unemployment rates stayed steady at 3.5%. This is from the New York Times. Um, you can see the trend line is kind of heading down, but from Biden era, but starting to tick back up. As of I guess a couple quarters ago. So yeah, I mean, all this economic data, I say just take it with a grain of salt and really measure: is your life improving? Are other people's lives around you improving? Um, not just the Dow or some number on a TV screen, right? Are you sleeping better? I think really here at this channel, we're going to measure it. Are you sleeping better? Right? That should be really the measure of the quality of your life. And at the end of the day, that's but when you go to the end of your life, how well did you sleep? I think that's really the measure. So I detract. Um, so what I'm getting at here is, let's see. So this was an interesting chart. This is all from the New York Times. This breaks down, let's see, 4 years in the past, goes back 4 years to 2022. Changes by job sector. So healthcare seems to keep growing. Leisure and hospitality is flat. Utilities, construction seem to be booming. Most other sectors seem to be flat. And then let's see, information and federal government is declining quite substantially, right? So yeah, healthcare and construction, from this chart seem to be doing pretty well. Obviously, the government, that's a lot of, Trump's layoffs. I don't agree with those, but hopefully they turn out well in the long run. And then information, I'm not really sure what that means. But yeah. So what I'm reading a lot of is not just from Reuters, but when you scratch the surface, it's not really that rosy. So, but looking beyond that headline figure, the job market is far from booming. While employers report record overall employment levels, household report employment is shrinking. Moreover, the U.S. workforce is declining at a rapid rate. The participation rate is the lowest in nearly 5 years, and the breadth of hiring across industries continues to be narrower than average. My personal suspicion is that two big takeaways. One, a lot of the boom is yes, the AI industry is booming. That's not really a secret. And the other thing is a lot of the labor participation rate is declining. So let's talk about that first. So the labor participation rate, you can see here. So this is St. Louis Fed. Anyone can Google this. It's a lot of really valuable government data that's just posted for free. You can see the labor participation rate is going pretty steep decline here. So now credit Trump. He did curb or reduce or eliminate immigration, right? So the idea is you basically you're shrinking the labor pool so that more U.S. citizens will go to work and have higher paying jobs, right? Uh, I haven't seen that materialize. I do give them credit. I think it's a good thing that the, immigration is gone to zero or negative. Well, illegal immigration. But yeah, I don't think, from what I can see, I don't think American citizens are really seeing an improvement in the quality of their life. So this number, the reason this is important is it could be one that basically people are just giving up on the workforce, right? They're just saying, screw it. I'm working 15, 18 bucks an hour and I still have a shitty life. So I'm just going to go sit on mom's couch. That would make this go down and make the um, unemployment rate look up, right? So the unemployment rate, they don't count these. It's called disenfranchised workers. Another possibility is like boomers are just retiring. People are just retiring. That's just natural. As an aside, I did find this very interesting. Just looking at the country as a whole, right, for the past like 70, 80 years. So this goes back to 1950s, maybe 1940s, right? Labor participation rate was pretty low up until I guess 65. It starts really ticking up, 1970. My guess is this is when the second wave feminism revolution came and all these women entered the labor force. So that's just an interesting interesting trend, right? That since, let's see, when did it peak? Peaked in 2000. So you had that's coming off of the Clinton boom from, basically he deregulated the banks. So you had this, boom, and then you had this crash, the 2000 and the 2008 financial crash. And so, yeah, that's really when people, you know, I guess when we, gave control of our country to the banks, I maintain we had a boom, but then now it's just been in decline ever since. And there's nothing, I don't see anything getting us out of that, right? And I know Trump in 16, he made a big deal out of this chart, and it doesn't seem like he's improving it. This is just another blurb going back to AI, talking about how, yeah, I think a lot of our economic goodness or growth is because of AI. So it's there's all this construction, and really the end goal is to lay off, you know, huge swaths of the labor force, right? Yeah, I mean, it's like a temporary boom, but long term, we just like I showed that earlier chart, we gave control of the country to the banks. There was a boom. We're giving control of the country again to the AI, you know, tech gods. So my guess is it's going to follow a similar trend. That's my prediction. That we have a boom. There's all this construction. Everyone's kind of racing to build out all this AI infrastructure. But really the end goal is to have mass surveillance and to lay off huge amounts of people. So take it for what you will. Please, everyone should do your own research. Please, conflicting data and opinions are really appreciated. So yeah, I'm always just trying to gobble up as much information as I can. Okay, let's talk about oil prices. So after more than 2 months of war in the Middle East, the national average gas price has surpassed $4.50 a gallon. And according to analysis released by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, on Wednesday, the burden of the surge is falling hardest on those with the least room to absorb it. So that's a fact of our economy, is that we basically pushed the poor and the lower middle class out of the cities, right? They can't afford to live inside the cities, but all the work is inside the cities, right? So they have to travel further, and it's more of a percentage of their income to travel, right? If you're wealthy, if you're upper middle class, you can afford, a house most anywhere in the city. You can afford a house close to your work. Whereas if you're poor or lower middle class, you can't. So that's another trend that, I think Americans are feeling more and more. It may actually be contributing to the slide we looked at before. Another big point that people need to realize too. So on the news, they always talk about the futures, oil futures. This is just from Google, screenshot from Google. So May 8th, oil is basically $79 a barrel, right? So future means like a month or 2 months ahead. That's a contract, right? So I'm going to buy 1 barrel oil for 1 barrel oil for $79 a month or 2 months in the future. Okay, that's what that means. Now, what's really fascinating to me is spot prices so what that means is what people are paying like tomorrow. Okay, if I want a barrel of oil tomorrow, I'm going to pay $110 for that. So that's like a 30% discrepancy. And I think you can look from these two charts, we can compare them. They're fairly, they kind of track with each other, right? I think with the Ukraine Russia war in 2022, we did have oil prices spike, 100, 120. So, everything I'm hearing is this is kind of the calm before the storm, right? Oil inventories are depleting, and we're just buying up inventory that's existing, right? 20% of oil still has not moved from the Strait of Hormuz, right? It's just been a trickle. There is some ships passing through, but it's a trickle, right? Okay, so yeah, all the economists that I appreciate and respect, they're all saying, "Buckle up! This is going to be bad, right?" This is so I don't want to be like super doom and gloom, but my suggestion to everyone is, yeah, I mean, prepare yourselves. Even if I'm wrong, it's just a good idea to prepare yourselves and plan for the worst and hope for the best. So, all right, let's talk about the Iran war. Basically, the big story is that both the United States and Iran, they exchanged fire, right? I think the United States had some tankers that basically tried to run the Iranian blockade, and Iran had some tankers that tried to run the U.S. blockade. So they're blockading each other. This is from the Tribune. It's an Indian publication. I'll just read this summary. So on Thursday, President Trump confirmed the exchange of fire between American and Iranian naval forces in the Strait of Hormuz. I think on Thursday there was a fairly decent-sized battle amid the ceasefire agreement between the two sides, asserting that three American destroyers successfully passed through the strategic waterway despite coming under attack. So Iran claims that there was 3 U.S. destroyers. I think they tried to go into the strait, probably to go, to Kuwait, Bahrain, or to join the Fifth Fleet. Iran claims that they hit them and they damaged them and they had to retreat. Trump is saying they successfully went through. We're really never going to find the truth, probably till 5 or 15 years from now, 10, 15 years from now. There is satellite image of, I didn't bring it, but there's satellite image of 3 ships, on fire that day. So that was really suspicious. And yeah, I don't know. I tend to believe the Iranians. Sorry, not sorry, but in a post on Truth Social, Trump said 3 U.S. naval destroyers transitioned very successfully out of the Strait of Hormuz, noting they were fired upon by the Iranians. The U.S. president further claimed that Iranian naval boats were completely destroyed, adding that missiles and drones targeted the vessels were intercepted. I did see, pictures and evidence that, that this is probably true, that both sides lost. The Iranians probably lost a fair amount of their speedboats, and I think probably both is true. That Iran lost a lot of their speedboats, and the U.S. probably did take damage on these 3 destroyers. In a statement issued, CENTCOM said U.S. forces disabled the Iranian unladen tankers, MT Sea Star 3 and MT Sevda. I think there was 2 Iranian tankers that were empty. They were heading back to port, heading back to Iran, and the United States disabled them. Yeah, we used an F-18 Hornet, operating from the George W. Bush, fired precision munitions into the smokestacks of the unladen oil tankers, preventing them from reaching Iranian territory. So we're capturing oil tankers. This has been going on for a while now, and it's getting more and more news traction. I doubt the mainstream media is talking about how the United States is seizing oil tankers and cargo tankers, but it's becoming more and more a big deal. Let's see. As of now, since April 13th, U.S. CENTCOM has disabled 4 vessels in the region amid the blockade of Iranian ports, noting that it has redirected 58 commercial vehicles. Okay. So, the ceasefire is not really a ceasefire. I mean, they're still trading fire. This is from the Hindu. Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, drones, and small boats at 3 U.S. warships, but none were hit. U.S. CENTCOM said on a post in X, adding that it eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities responsible. It's hard to tell who's telling the truth. CENTCOM does not seek escalation, but remains positioned and ready to protect American forces. Iranian Central Command, Military Command, meanwhile accused the United States of violating ceasefire by attacking an oil tanker and another ship on Thursday. So let's talk about this report from CNN. It's looking like, I thought there was 13 U.S. bases that were abandoned or completely destroyed. It's looking like there were 16. So it's worse than I realized. Let's look at their report.
Allies in the region, there's a dilemma. In some ways, Iran's show of force makes the U.S.'s presence in the region even more necessary to Gulf security. But there's a new reality here, which is that U.S. military installations, previously seen as formidable fortresses, have turned into sitting targets. As a Saudi source told me, the war has shown Saudi Arabia, that's the U.S.'s longest-standing Arab ally, that the alliance with the U.S. cannot be exclusive, and it is not, in their words, impregnable. To get a sense of just how vulnerable U.S. facilities have become, have a look at this. It's the war room at Qatar's El Udeid Air Base, the theater command and control hub for U.S. air power across 21 nations.
So this is October 7, 2015. So this is not a new clip.
Struck not just once, but twice. And according to a U.S. source, causing significant damage. The base had been largely evacuated at this point, and no casualties were reported. Iran's visibility over its targets has never been clearer. In 2024, according to the Financial Times, Tehran secretly acquired a Chinese satellite, known as the TEE-01B, a massive upgrade from its own satellites. That means that Tehran went from looking at images of this quality to this. This is the first time America has fought an adversary with satellites that capture high-res imagery, almost as detailed as its own. As the scale of the damage comes into focus, many will wonder whether America's presence, once a protective shield in the Middle East, has turned into its Achilles heel. Tamara Khablawi, CNN, London.
Okay, so 16 air bases hit. Again, we're not going to know the full extent of that damage, but it's surprising me. And notice what she said was that we evacuated the bases before they hit. What does that mean? Like we couldn't protect them, right? These are our most valuable bases in the Middle East, and so just that fact that we gave up protecting them, that we couldn't stop Iran, but we already defeated them. They've been totally defeated, totally decimated. That's weird that we're having to evacuate we have to evacuate bases from a military that is completely defeated. It's very strange to me. So, okay, let's talk about. I want to talk about Italy is distancing themselves from the United States. So let's watch this report from CNN, and then we're going to read. So the Italian prime minister is not too happy with.
Italy has not been of any help to us. It's NATO. It's not even the fact that they've been. It's one thing if they said nicely, or if they said, okay, we'll help, but the help's a little slow. But the level, and we help them with Ukraine.
Clearly, it's a
So, Spain, I think, is pretty much not in our camp anymore, right? I'm not sure about France and England, but let's listen to her remarks. So this is the Italian prime minister, and she's, basically saying we need to distance ourselves from the United States, but I'll let you judge.
decision that doesn't depend on me and one I personally wouldn't agree with. Clearly, it's a decision that doesn't depend on me and one I personally wouldn't agree with. But there's one thing I want to make clear. Italy has always kept its commitments. Italy has honored all the commitments it has signed, and it has always done so. We've done this especially within NATO. We've done it even when our direct interests weren't at stake. Look, I cannot tell you exactly what is going to happen. As I've told you many times before, we know that the United States has been talking for quite a long while about pulling back from Europe.
So she's saying, Italy is essentially a client state of the United States, right? They depend on the United States for military protection, and then in return, we pretty much run Europe. And she's saying we've been good allies, we've been good vassal states. So, what the hell else do you want from us? Italy didn't start this war in the Middle East, but yet Trump is asking them for help. So she's saying we've done what's been asked of us.
Which is precisely why I think we truly need to strengthen our own security and significantly increase our ability to respond from this point of view.
I mean, so she's saying, yeah, we can't rely on the United States to protect us anymore. We're going to have to, we have to go trick out on our own.
After that, clearly, it's a decision that doesn't depend on me and one I personally wouldn't agree with. But there's one thing I want to make clear. Italy has always kept its commitments. Italy has honored all the commitments it has signed, and it has always done so. We've done this especially within NATO. We've done it even when our direct interests weren't at stake. We did it in Afghanistan, we did it in Iraq. So some of the things that have been said about us, I don't consider them fair. Also, because at the level of the Atlantic Pact, no one has ever formally come forward to ask the Allies for support regarding the choices they were making.
You talked about.
So that's pretty fascinating that, for the Iraq War, for the Afghanistan War, Italy went along helping the United States. And, she's making a great point that it was not in Italy's interest. But now it sounds like, this is the tear, right? This is starting to tear the relationship apart. And yeah, I know Italy's not a huge player, but, Spain, Italy, more and more countries are, moving away from the United States. So Italy alone is not significant, but I think the large trend, yes, is quite significant.
Possibly pulling out some troops out of Germany. Would you be considering the same thing for Spain and Italy? I mean, they haven't been exactly on board.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably will. Why should I? Look, why shouldn't I? Italy has not been of any help to us, and Spain has been horrible, absolutely horrible. It's NATO. It's not even the fact that they've been.
Yeah, my understanding is Spain is not helping the United States at all in this war. They're not allowing planes to fly over, and they're pretty much in Iran's column right now, is my understanding.
One thing if they said nicely, or if they said, okay, we'll help, but the help's a little slow. But the level, and we helped them with Ukraine. They made a mess out of Ukraine, a total mess. And we helped them with Ukraine. Ukraine has nothing to do. We're an ocean apart. It has to do with them. It's like for them, it's their front door. We help them. And Biden gave them $350 billion, which was insane. It's one of the reasons the war went on. But when we needed them, they were not there. We have to remember that. And so if we ever have a big one, because we didn't need any help with Iran. We had Iran right from the first day. It was over.
Wait, he just said they're not helping us. So he's belly aching that they're not helping us, but we don't need their help. So, this guy contradicts himself within the same speech, not even within the same day, within the same paragraph. He contradicts himself.
Over. And now it's even more so. We're so locked and loaded if we want to do it. But we didn't need the help. And to a certain extent, I asked him, I didn't need the help, but I said, yeah, we'd love to have your help because I wanted to see if they do it.
He wanted to see if we do it. That's enough. That's all that I can take of this guy. So, yeah, like I said, I hope things turn out for the positive. Steve Keen is a economist that I would recommend checking out. He's pretty doom and gloom. Pretty much all the economists that I listen to, Michael Hudson, Richard Wolff, they do not have a rosy outlook for the future. So, my advice to everyone is, buckle up, and hopefully, we all need to take care of each other. Is what I'm trying to say. We all need to, be more connected to the world, and so understanding what's going on is really helpful. At the high level, but at what you can do is just make the world a little bit better where you are, and that's something I'll just preach. And it could be something simple as like going to bed a little bit early, making yourself, improving yourself by getting a little bit extra sleep. I've been really trying to improve my sleep, stuff like that. Hopefully that helps in the long run. You never know. All right, well, thank you everybody for checking us out.